Welcome to the Pinstripe Chronicles podcast. I'm Tess. I'm here with Rob, and the Yankees are set to face the Cardinals in St. Louis on a road trip. And the biggest question that's been coming around on social media is it's a two-part question, and it's what does Boone do with the lineup to get this team rolling again, and how does he manage the bullpen with new arms? Who gets what role? And I want to start with the offense because that's kind of been the troubling thing, in my opinion, is the lack of offense against not just other teams' aces, but their two, three, four, five guys. It seems like we'll have that one game where we'll tear the cover off the ball and then go silent for the rest of the series. One game of dominance is not going to be sustainable throughout August. Is it gets? I know New York is in a heat wave like I can't remember, but what do they have to do to get themselves back on track? What does Boone have to do to go back to being a real leader of this team like he was in the beginning of the year? And it comes down to the lineups, and the lineup has been something that's been debated for a while, and we've been asking the question, Rob, is it LeMahieu or Benintendi that should be the leadoff spot? And there's no wrong answer. But whichever one you're putting, one or two, really shapes the lineup, I think, to be successful.
Yeah, you can't have Benintendi in the middle of the order. He's not a middle of the order hitter. A few years ago in Boston, sure, but right now he's changed his style of play since he went to Kansas City. He's become more contact oriented, more extra base hits, sacrificing power for more contact, which is exactly what you want out of a top of the order guy, first or second. If you're not going to bat him first, bat him ninth, because there's no reason he should be batting in the 5 spot. There's just zero reason for it. He's not an RBI producer. That's LeMahieu. He's more of an RBI guy, but you look at who are the Yankees' main run producers. That'd be Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, Torres to a degree.
Yep.
But you having your main contact guy, he's your second fastest guy behind IKF, and he's batting 5th. It just doesn't make sense to me, like where you're placing him in the lineup. I think he's so much more better in the top of the order, whether it's first or second. You can go Benintendi, LeMahieu, Benintendi. Judge batting second, I get why they do it, but you can drop him one spot and he's not going to see worse pitches, because if you have Rizzo behind him and Stanton behind Rizzo, you're going to have to either work around Judge and deal with one of those two guys. So you can construct this lineup a lot better, and all you really have to do is just flip Benintendi and LeMahieu. Early in the year, we saw Donaldson lead off with LeMahieu batting 5th. I mean, I don't know why we can't do it now with an actual leadoff hitter. So hopefully Boone tries it out, because we've only had him in the leadoff spot once, I think, since we got him, and he's got one hit with us, and it was an infield single that deflected off a glove. Yeah. We need to get him going, because we didn't bring him here to draw walks. If we wanted an outfielder to play good defense and draw walks, we would have just kept Joey Gallo. So we need Benintendi to start hitting, and he's not going to be doing that batting behind a struggling right now Gleyber Torres and with Josh Donaldson in front of him or behind him. It's just not happening. You need to get him in the leadoff spot where he was with Kansas City and where he was raking. Keep him in the top of the order.
Yeah, the other idea that I had, and it may seem a little crazy, but it can work. The 1-2 punch of LeMahieu and Judge is a winning formula. We've seen that having them 1 and 2 have had successful starts to the game in the first. Would it be crazy to have Benintendi in the 3 hole in between Judge and Rizzo?
They don't want to lump their lefties together. That's the thing, because you only have so many. If Benintendi's starting and Stanton's healthy and Carpenter's in there, you only have 3 lefties. And they don't want to lump them too close together, because you kind of have to scatter them a little bit for the sake of balance. But I don't think you're going to have guys on base, sure, if LeMahieu and Judge are there, but you can still have LeMahieu Judge to not even to start the order, but back to back, because you could have Benintendi first, LeMahieu second, Judge third. And Rizzo has to drop the cleanup, which is fine because when he's in between Judge and Stanton, that top five is insane to have to navigate through. And it allows guys like Torres in the sixth spot or even Carpenter batting seventh, then they're going to get different pitches to hit. And the lineup just becomes more full. Really, we have to wait for Stanton to come back. I think what Boone's doing right now, is I hope is experimenting with stuff. Because when Stanton comes back, either Benintendi's going to drop a few spots in the order, or they might have to bat him first just to try to maximize what he's able to do. Because when Stanton's back, you're not going to see that much Donaldson. You're probably not going to see that much Carpenter either. But they have to find a way to get Benintendi in the 1 or 2 spot in the order, because right now batting fifth is not working.
No, I think Donaldson needs to hit eighth. I would actually switch Donaldson and Hicks in the order, and have Donaldson and IKF as the 8 and 9. Because I think IKF is really, I think his best role is in that 9 hole. I wouldn't change that. I would leave that alone. So you could have, from what we're saying, you'll have, you go 1-2 punch will either be Benintendi and LeMahieu. And you'll have Judge. We'll leave Stanton out of it right now because he's not in the lineups at all. You'll have Rizzo. You got Torres or Carpenter. So you're really now you're really strengthening and widening your options.
Yeah, you need to have that balance of lefties, because I'm thinking ahead right now, because clearly the Yankees are playing for October. They think they have the East locked up. There's still a lot of baseball left, and they're kind of teetering right now. But when healthy, you have a really, really good lineup that doesn't involve Josh Donaldson at all. And if Bader is healthy by the time the playoffs roll around, you have him to play in center field or come in late in the game as a defensive replacement. So they have options there. It's just they need to get Benintendi. It really just comes down to Benintendi batting where he needs to be.
Yeah,
he should not be batting fifth. He should not be batting sixth. He should not be batting seventh even.
It's 1 or 2. Yeah, Donald, we were debating on how the lineup would be strengthened and even lengthened out, having LeMahieu and Benintendi as your 1-2 punch in either order.
I'm good with that. It's just obviously they want to make sure that Aaron Judge gets the most at bats possible, and I think the analytics behind that is that Aaron Judge can get that from the 2 hole. I think LeMahieu is more comfortable runners in scoring position because he's got a little bit more power than Benintendi does. So I think you can afford to move LeMahieu down to the 5 hole if you want. But LeMahieu's balled out as a leadoff hitter since he got here. So I can understand Boone's thinking. So I would probably have LeMahieu leading off anyway, Benintendi 2, Judge 3, Rizzo, Stanton 4, Rizzo 5. I think that's a very long lineup.
Yeah, I think. Well, what I was one of the points that I had made with for LeMahieu being in the leadoff spot with having LeMahieu and Judge 1 and 2 is we've seen that formula working. The 2 of them have actually done really well as that tag team to start the batting order. Mm-hmm. So, how much do you want to mess with that chemistry?
It's absolutely fair, but I mean, they have to do something with Benintendi because batting him 6th, this is doing no good to anyone. No.
You don't bring in a leadoff hitter. You don't bring in a leadoff hitter to bat 6. Like that's exactly. That's why. In all honesty, that's why I was leaning towards Happ if I had to pick one, because Happ you can put in the 6th spot and he would be more of an RBI guy, even though he's similar statistically to Benintendi this year. He's more, I guess you can say, adjustable. He can adjust to being that RBI guy or maybe become a power guy, being a switch hitter in Yankee Stadium. They brought in Benintendi, who's a leadoff hitter, to bat 5th. It's not fair to him because look at how he's looked bad. Aside from the walks, but he is when he's not drawing walks, he's looking bad. He looks uncomfortable. He looks out of place. they're putting him in a position to fail, and it's only 2 series, but who had a similar start to his Yankee career? Joey Gallo. It was almost the exact same way his first 2 series went. He didn't make any contact. He drew walks, struck out. Benintendi's striking out a lot, and he doesn't strike out. So they're putting him in a position where it's like, okay, middle of the order, you're thinking power. You got to be power. So now what? He's over swinging. He's not a power guy right now.
I mean, they might as well have just traded for Vogelback then and just made him the DH.
Yeah, because if you wanted a power bat,
yeah,
they wanted a speed contact guy, right? They get one, and they bat him in a premium power spot. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me at all.
LeMahieu can be that guy if they needed him to be. They can still have Judge follow LeMahieu if they put LeMahieu second and Judge third. You're going to get plenty of at-bats because Benintendi will get on base, and so will LeMahieu. And guess what? Here comes Judge with 2 guys on instead of 1.
If they wanted an outfielder with power, why didn't they just go and get like Jacques Peterson? I mean, you got a 320 hitter for a reason. You want him in the top of the order, and you're putting him basically at the bottom of the order or near the bottom of the order. It just doesn't do any good to anyone.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible that just with Benintendi, one, we know that him batting in the wrong spot in the order is messing him up. Do you think it was also maybe the Bronx jitters that some players I think this road trip might be what he needs to settle in.
I don't know.
Was it nerves being because even though he's in Boston, he's played in that stadium a lot. When you're the one getting cheered, it's a different atmosphere.
I doubt it.
No,
he's put in a position to fail batting in a spot he's not supposed to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they batted him lead off, I think his first or second game, right? But ever since then, it's been 5, 5, 5. He's following Donaldson, who's hitting 1 home run in his last 50-something at bats or whatever it is. Like, you're not going to get much to do, but if you're batting with the bases empty, now you've got to do something with 1 or 2 outs. It's a much different approach with 2 outs and the bases empty than nobody out to start the inning. There's a huge difference in how you approach the at-bat. And Benintendi is your prototypical leadoff hitter because he's not trying to send one over the wall. He's trying to get on base. So even if he is drawing walks at the top of the order, guess who's after him? Aaron Judge or DJ LeMahieu, whatever you want to do. That's essentially the same thing as LeMahieu at the top of the order, but LeMahieu's already shown that ability this year. He's gotten the power swing going lately, and his RBIs are going up. He's looking a lot like the DJ of 2019, not the batting average, but everything else is equivalent to what he did in that incredible 2019 season when there were guys on base who was coming through in the clutch. DJ LeMahieu. So if the switch is Benintendi 1, LeMahieu 5, do it. I'm sure it's not going to break up the lineup that much. And if it fails, okay, put Benintendi in the 9 spot. Then you kind of have that second leadoff hitter.
Yeah. No, Donald, what do you think about that?
No, that's what I agree with. I think they need to put him up first or second in the order and at least test it out. Give it a week. I mean, we're not guaranteeing anything, but at least try something because I just don't think that he's put in a position to succeed. And I also think that they're overusing Donaldson. And from what I'm hearing, they were testing the market to see if there was any interest in Josh Donaldson at the deadline, and no one was interested in him.
Shocker.
I mean, that's why I was so upset that we inherited $50 million of his contract willingly, because there's no upside to that move. If it doesn't go wrong, if it goes wrong, then you're lumbered with that contract and it's unmovable. And that's where we're at now. I mean, you'll be lucky if you're able to move him in the offseason. You will be, because some other team's going to be looking at it. I don't want to take on $25 million to a 37-year-old that can't hit anymore, that just provides good defense. I can get that for like a quarter of that, a tenth of that, So the Yankees will probably have to eat much of his contract just to move him. Let's be honest. So that's why it was a huge mistake inheriting that money, because if you looked at his numbers were declining over the last 2-3 years anyway. They were banking on a bounce back year for Donaldson, and it's not happened. So they were also testing the market on Aaron Hicks, and again, I think they struggled to gain much traction in getting rid of Aaron Hicks because he's 0 for 23. So, I mean, I think those guys are going to be movable. Well, they'll try and move them in the offseason, but it doesn't help us for right now.
The rumor was Hicks was in that deal with the Marlins. And then
I heard that, yeah. I don't know how believable that is.
No, that's why I say a rumor.
Yeah. But I do know that John Heyman said that the Yankees were not high on Montgomery, and apparently he's been on the market for a while. So they had the Bader deal in place for the last 48, 72 hours prior to the actual deal itself going through. But I do think that the Yankees, I do know that Lopez deal was going to go through. But I think the Marlins pulled out in the last minute, or they tried to pull a fast one on the Yankees and add an extra piece to the deal.
I think it was Peraza, Volpe, or Torres. They wanted one of the three. And here's my problem. If you didn't want to give up Peraza, why the hell is he still in AAA?
Yeah.
I said that before the deadline. I was like, if he's still here post-deadline, he needs to be starting the very next day, or at least start of the road trip. And here we are. And unless they make a move before the series, why isn't he starting? I like IKF, but defensively, I'm thinking about October again, but imagine a ground ball to him gets botched or he makes a low throw, and all of a sudden there's a guy on base that shouldn't be on base, and Garrett Cole's pitching and he implodes like we've seen already on multiple occasions this year. We don't want that happening. Peraza's already a better glove at shortstop, and you can use IKF in that utility role. You don't have a need for Marwin Gonzalez anymore. The fact that people are saying that he's what's holding up Peraza being called up is ludicrous. Marwin Gonzalez has barely played for the last 2 weeks, so
that's right. Yeah,
such a simple switch. Just give Peraza a shot. I can see them waiting for September so they don't have to cut a guy like Marwin, who right now can offer you versatility. But if you're not playing him, why keep him? That Peraza is just sitting there in AAA. He's tearing the cover off the ball. They should call up Volpe to AAA. Now give Peraza a shot, and if he balls out, Volpe's still your guy. Now you have an interesting dilemma in the offseason because teams are going to be looking at Peraza like, damn, we might want this guy. And there's a lot of options there. I really think Peraza needs to be called up because now you have a few speed guys in your lineup when it comes to later in the season.
Peraza's numbers in AAA are absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah.
He's tearing it up. He should be here.
Murdering the baseball. So it's not a case of he's only playing defense. His offensive numbers are phenomenal.
Yeah, he's hitting for power, extra base hits. His speed, he'd be the best speed guy on our team right now. The guy steals bases.
The equation of why, Gonzalez is holding up Peraza, because otherwise we can have IKF in Gonzalez's role and have Peraza up as the shortstop. So, you won't be losing much on your, you really won't be losing anything on your bench. You're still going to have a guy that's got versatility in the infield. I know Marwin, they'll put once in a while in an outfield spot, but you don't need that anymore because you have Carpenter that could fill in the outfield.
Here's Oswald Peraza since June 1st, batting .302 with a .912 OPS and a .141 WRC plus, with 9 home runs and 14 stolen bases since June 1st. And he's walking 10% of the time as well.
It all adds up. You replace IKF, who's a hitter. He's a singles hitter, and now you're getting Peraza, who's a guy that actually hit the ball over the wall. IKF is fine for a utility role, and if you want to play him every so often, but clearly he's not a shortstop, which is what we were saying all off season. You're putting this guy in a position to fail, and he's not been unusable, but he's not been the guy that you can say, okay, there's your placeholder for 2 years until Volpe's ready. Peraza should be up right now. And
what do you think what would your reason do you think it is that he's not been called up yet?
I don't know. I really don't know because I don't know because Cashman does this, right? Because Florial should have been playing a lot more. They never used him, especially when the entire outfield that wasn't Aaron Judge was struggling. They never used Florial. They don't want to use Peraza when IKF has shown you all season he's replaceable. It's not like the guy's hitting 350 and he's got a few home runs and he's driving in runs. He's just a singles hitter at the bottom of the order. That's replaceable. His defense, replaceable. The only thing that really isn't replaceable is his speed, but guess what? Peraza's fast. So IKF becomes a pinch runner.
Yeah.
You have really no reason when you put it all together, and I don't know if Brian Cashman's just hesitant to put him up here in the middle of a pennant chase, but sometimes you need that jolt. The team right now, the morale is down. I know me as a fan, I know Donald's the same way. We don't really care that Monty's gone that much, but the team loved the guy, so the morale is down a little bit. Maybe if you call up this young kid who's tearing up and he brings a little energy, you'll get that dugout jumping again, and they'll start winning some more games. Nothing's guaranteed. There's still 2 months left. I know we got a big lead, but this division ain't locked up.
No, it's not.
They need a jolt, and Peraza could provide that. You know, we have something to be excited about Sunday with Montas starting, but give us something else because IKF is fine, but just not. You're not wowed by him. Let me see what Peraza can do. Give him 2 months at the major league level.
Could it be? Sorry, Rob. Say what your point is.
No, make your point because I want to get into the pitching, but finish up with the infield.
Could it be that the Yankees are locked in on Volpe being the starting shortstop going into next year? That they don't want to muddy the water by the potential that Peraza balls out, right? And then they have a real question what to do with Peraza and Volpe when Volpe's ready. Would it add more of a question mark as to do they need to move Volpe to third base? And maybe it just muddies the waters that they just don't want to have to consider that. So they'd rather Peraza just ball out, get his stock up all year long, and then package him in a deal in the offseason. Because if they loved him, don't you think that he would be here by now? Because IKF has been below average defensively and below average offensively as well. Do you think it's a case of that as well? And then to add another factor to that is, like, for instance, if he does ball out and they moved IKF over to third base, then it means that you've got below average power at the hot corner, and they don't want to move Donaldson from that either.
We already have that at third right now because Donaldson ain't hitting for power. So
right, but even less because at least Donaldson has the potential of hitting a home run. Like IKF has no potential of hitting a home run. No, do you think it's that?
No, I think what you said is spot on, and I think that's part of the obvious that we haven't realized yet with why they haven't called up Peraza. It could just very well be they don't want to, like you used the term you used, they don't want to muddy the waters with Volpe. They already invested into him for next year. Why disrupt the plan? Because this kid ended up, found his rhythm and is tearing the cover off the ball. It's really put Cashman in a really tough spot.
It's a stupid decision if that's the case, though. It's a great point, but it's very stupid because you should have traded him then.
No, it's not the smartest move, but it does make the most sense.
You could have had Pablo Lopez in this rotation instead of Domingo Germán right now. Mm-hmm. And if Peraza was a guy that they wanted and you didn't want to give him up, but you don't want to use him, then why not trade him? Give the guy a chance to play. Because I'm sure Miami would call him up at some point this year, and then he'd be their shortstop moving forward. Because they want to move Jazz Chisholm. I don't even know who their shortstop is, but they would play Peraza almost immediately, I think. He's major league ready right now. I don't know why they're not giving the kid a chance. I know you want to talk about pitching, so go talk about the pitching.
That's right. My main question I had on the pitching is with Cortez already at his limit of innings that he's pitched in his career so far. How do you expect? Where do you see Boone navigating the rotation? And when are they going to bring up? When do you think they'll bring Schmidt back up to absorb some of the innings from Cortez?
September, probably.
Think they're going to wait that long?
I think they're going to survive a month with Germán starting because his last 2 starts, he hasn't been unusable. He was terrible against Houston, but against the Mets and against the hell did he face? Seattle, he wasn't terrible. He was better than Cole against Seattle. So I mean, if he's giving you 5 innings and keeping you in the ball game, that's more than I would have ever thought he'd give you at this point. He's going to give up more runs, I'm sure, but you can survive the next few weeks with Herman, and then Schmidt becomes kind of a 6th starter. What they really need is Tyone to pick it up. Obviously Cole, but it comes down if Jameis and Tyone can start getting deeper into games, giving you 6, at least 5 or 6, and being effective like he was early in the year. I'm not saying he has to be lights out again, but keep us in the ball game, because right now he's unusable as well. It comes down to JMO. It comes down to Cole. And I think they can survive with Herman because stuff-wise, he's not much different than Monty. He throws harder.
As I said, he's Monty with more velocity.
Yeah, he's a terrible, terrible, terrible person. But he's pitching-wise, at his best, Herman and Monty are kind of similar. Because Monty's best year was like a 3.8 ERA or something like that, 3.7. So I don't think you're losing too much. I just hate Domingo Herman. That's just my point of view.
Well, that's why I'm trying to lead the question more away from with Herman, because I don't even like mentioning his name. But it is what it is. He's in the rotation. But with it's more my concern is with Cortez's innings and making sure that he still has something left in the tank for October. So I wouldn't wait too long to bring up Schmidt back up to maybe take a start, a start or two from Cortez.
They don't have that spot though, because they got to make a decision for Sunday. Who's Montas taking the spot from? Because they ain't getting rid of Herman. It might have to be Marinaccio because nobody else is getting sent down.
That's a tough one on Marinaccio. I don't think he deserves that.
It can't be Wandy. He's going to have to give you the okay to send him down. There's no way he's saying, "Yeah, go ahead, send me to AAA." They're not getting rid of Licky. They're not getting rid of Chapman because they would have. They're not getting rid of Loizaga. You can't get rid of the 2 guys you just traded for. So
I would get rid of Licky.
You could. I could.
He would be the odd man out.
Maybe he is, but because you got to keep Marinaccio, but they're gonna have the decision to make. And I don't know what the limit of pitchers is, but maybe they go short and bench just to keep Montas and not have to get rid of a guy.
But DFA, no, they're not going to DFA Marwin. I really don't want, or maybe Locastro.
It would be Locastro if they decide to go.
I think would be the odd man.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going. We'll find out Sunday, of course. That's when Montas will be activated. So
I think, considering the amount of relievers we have, I think they're going to make use of the fact that Marinaccio has options, and then he'll be the only one out.
Probably. And then again, you have a dilemma because you can only call up 1 pitcher and 1 hitter in September, I think. So who is the guy? Because it's going to have to be Schmidt for the innings. And then Marinaccio sitting there. Maybe in September, if Litke's struggling still, they decide to get rid of him. But because they were looking to move him.
Yeah, I heard
they were looking to move Licky?
They were. MLB Nerds, who was on a lot of trades. He actually got recognition from Ken Rosenthal, or they did. The Yankees were discussing Litke to LA. I don't know what happened there, but they were trying to move him as well.
In that case, then just maybe consider DFAing him then.
Yeah,
I like Licky, but I think he's just a soft tosser now.
He's not a playoff guy.
No, I think Marinaccio's got better upside.
No, I think Licky falls into the same thing like with Monty. He would not have seen he wouldn't have been an impact arm in the postseason. So that makes him the odd man out. And it's nothing against I'm nothing against Licky, but it's just playoff logistics.
He was better last year. He was much better last year.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. It will be for sure. But I'm just my concern is Cortez's innings. And
what day is Montas due to pitch? Is that tomorrow?
Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, we got Nestor, Herman, then Montas, and we're going against Monty tomorrow, so that'll be fun. Herman versus Monty. That's actually a perfect matchup to see.
That is going to be interesting, that's for sure. But that is going to wrap things up for us on the Pitch Strike Chronicles. You have been watching us courtesy of Northeast Streaming Sports and listening courtesy of SportsWire Radio. This has been a hell of a week. We appreciate everybody that's been hitting us in the comments on social media. And the trade deadline came and went. We had a lot of good debates about it. Hopefully next week brings the same level of excitement with the Yankees back on track, winning games easily. So wear your pinstripes of pride and play hard.